Hey, friends, welcome to another episode of It's Messy, but It's So Good. And today I'd like to introduce you to my guest, Caroline Bass. Caroline and I met in a course several months ago, and we hit it off as friends right away. And when Caroline was sharing a lot about the product that she created and her story, I really wanted to have her on the podcast because I know there's so many women out there that are feeling stressed between family life and hormonal changes. And I think Caroline's story is going to be very inspiring and her product is going to be very helpful. So enjoy the show. Hi there.
Hi. It's so nice to be here.
I'm so happy to have you, Caroline. I wanted to introduce my guest to It's Messy, but It's So Good, Caroline Bass. And Caroline is an incredible entrepreneur for women's health. And she's going to talk more about her company, but she created an herbal stress relief supplement to help with so many different things in life, let alone mood, overall health, coping on a daily basis with, different aspects of PMS, menopause, and so forth. So what I would love to ask you, Caroline, to start off with is what exactly was your inspiration and passion for starting this wonderful company that you have?
Sure. Thank you. So just a little bit of background of who I am. I'm just a mom of 3 kids, and I wasn't planning on really starting a company. I was trained as a doula, which is a labor coach assistant, many years ago when I was, before I was even married in Berkeley, and I was with home birth midwives, and I would go to this home birth midwife collective, and I started learning about herbs and how to use herbs with pregnant women for prenatal care, pregnancy, and then postpartum, really just to support their pregnancy and to support their moods and postpartum care. But we learned so much about herbs that I would start incorporating it into my own life and how to just help balance different, if I was feeling stressed out or if I was feeling anxious or I needed to concentrate, or it boost my immune system. So it's just part of my daily, you can say like your toolkit for your wellness cabinet, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had kids and I started giving them different herbal treatments. I was always into very natural healing, but I'm not against Western medicine. I would just use both as a balance depending on what their needs were. So I have been using herbs in my life, I would say, for about at least 25 years now. And a few years ago, when I had my 3 kids at home, it was right before COVID, and they were at like a teenage year. My 2 older boys were in their teenage years. And my little one was this little girl who was very excitable and energetic. And I would feel very overwhelmed as a mom. And I felt like I wasn't the mom that I wanted to be. I wanted to create a beautiful home and have a lot of just create good memories with my kids and be that mom that, you always strive to be, like a good, relaxed, happy mom. And I wasn't that mom. I was so stressed out all the time. I was overworked, overtired, overwhelmed. My hormones were changing. I felt very irritable and I knew I needed to change something. I started going for walks, but I was still like on edge. So then I said, let me turn to what I know, which are the herbs. And there's a few herbs that people are all familiar with, or at least in the herbal world, ashwagandha is one of them. So I started taking that, but that on its own is not really enough to help kind of balance all of the ups and downs that we have. So I started mixing and matching different herbs until I started feeling a sense of calm. And I said, okay, I have what I know works for me that is helping me feel calm and more centered. I started noticing the difference. My husband noticed a difference. And I started talking about it on my Instagram, and people said, what are you using? So I would list all the different herbs and the different companies I was buying it from that I trusted. And so then they started buying it, but it's a lot to buy from, 5 different companies and all these different herbs. And so people said, can you just send me whatever you're using? Just put it in a little bag and send it to me so I don't need to figure out what to buy. So I thought about it and I was like, this is interesting because they don't want to go and buy all these different herbs. I just want like a one-stop shop. And my husband said, why don't you create something like that? And I was working full-time at an educational software company. I said, I have no idea how to create an herbal product. But we started researching it. And what I found was that we went to a factory. I live in Los Angeles, and we went to like this manufacturing factory. And I told them, okay, I want the herbs to be third-party tested, and I want it to be verified and pesticide free. I'd like it to be kosher. I wanted each herb to be high quality, not just like the cheaper quality. So the guy looked at me, and there was like a research and development, and he said, no one does that. He said, let me show you our warehouse. And he showed me all of these generic herbs. He said, people just put their names on these generic herbs, and based on whatever products we have and whatever herbs we have, most of the products on the market are just these private label herbs that you just put your name on this generic bottle. And I looked around. I wasn't allowed to take pictures, but there were so many companies in there that I recognized, that I realized they didn't formulate their product. They're actually just putting their names on products that have been just kind of sitting there, that let's say they wanted whatever stress relief or immune boosting herbs, they just put their name on that. And that's not what I wanted to create. I really wanted to formulate something specifically for the needs that I was looking for as a woman who is going through PMS and perimenopause, who's also stressed out, who's also worried about inflammation in the body because I was so just anxious all the time, and I care about my health. And so that's not the route I wanted to go on. And I was introduced to a chemist who specializes in different adaptogenic herbs, which are herbs that help you adapt to stress. And he started creating the formula for me. And then we started creating this product.
Wow.
I'm sorry, there's like a long answer to your question, but that's how I even started thinking about this.
So how long did it take from the very beginning of you thinking about it to it actually being produced?
It was a long time because then COVID happened. So it was about almost 2 years. So what happened was, first he started developing this product. So he's a good chemist who works with different manufacturers around the country. And he has a lab that he can test these herbs. So he would send me samples. So first I had all of these herbs in my products. I wanted to have mushrooms like lion's mane and chaga and like reishi, all these different mushrooms that are really good for immune boosting and for cognitive health. But the more ingredients you have in a supplement, the more diluted they become. And then you also need to increase the dosage. So let's say, my initial product had, I think, about 15 herbs. And so you needed to take 6 to 8 of these big pills in order for you to start to feel something. It was too much. So he sent me a test sample. I was taking it. I didn't really feel any difference. I said, no, we need to do it again. So we did it again, and he took out some of the herbs. I said, I still don't feel a difference. I needed to feel something. I needed to actually believe in the product I was putting out in the market. And then, so we tweaked it several times before finally he came back, and we took out all of the mushrooms, and we just said, let's just focus on stress release and mood balancing with herbs that help with hormonal moodiness. And so that's what we did. And I felt really good right away. I could feel a difference. I said, okay, now I think we have it. Let's start testing this. So I gave it to all my friends and family and neighbors, and I said, I want you all to test this. They tested it, and it takes a few weeks for you to really feel a difference with herbs if your body's not adjusted to using herbs. So I gave them about a month, and they loved it. They said, this is amazing. And they felt a difference. And I said, okay, I think I have something. Like, I think this is the product. And so then we had to start the production, and it's like everything from like, I know this is not on camera, but what size the bottle is going to be and what is it going to look like? And then how do you create the label? And I'm not a designer, and we didn't even have a budget for this. I was just trying to like do everything like really mom and pop, just figure it all out on my own, asking my friends for help in terms of what the design should look like. And the reason why I chose, so the product is called Queen Tulsi, and the Tulsi plant. So herbs are very spiritual, and they come from the earth, and we forgot how connected we are to plants. But if you are drawn to a certain plant, or let's say you feel like you really need mint tea and you're not really sure, it's good for your digestion. There's a reason why your body is craving that specific mint herb. It might seem like, oh, maybe someone told me mint tea is good for digestion, but your body also knows, and the herbs talk to you in a way that we don't understand, but you really need to listen to how they're reaching out to you. And once when we were connected to nature and we used to live more in the forest and in nature, we understood this on a more intuitive level. And we've lost touch with that. But the Tulsi plant is the mother of all herbs, and it's the queen of all the herbs. It's known as the elixir of life, and it's a feminine essence of an herb, which is a calming herb. And people know about ashwagandha, which is also a calming herb, but that's the male essence, so it's a little bit more aggressive. So the Tulsi balances that kind of more male intensity of the ashwagandha. And the Tulsi is such a soothing spiritual herb. And I feel like when I created that initial testing product with that and I gave it out and everyone said, I feel so good, I felt like that was the Tulsi coming through. And that's what they were relating to and reacting with. And so that's why I named the product Queen Tulsi, because it is the queen of all the herbs. And I felt like we don't honor her enough as an herb that really soothes us and was put on this earth to help us. So that's how I came up with that name and why I was drawn to that particular herb. And my neighbors are all from India. I live in an area that's very Indian, and Tulsi is an herb that's revered in India. And so I think I didn't even create the product yet. I was just talking about it, and my neighbor came to my house and she gave me a Tulsi plant, and she said, "This is a gift for you." And this was it's a really big deal that she gave that to me because it's a really sacred herb. And she told me where to plant it, to plant it in a certain spot, and how to give it lots of light and love and talk to it. And so now I have this gorgeous big Tulsi plant in my garden, and I love her. And she's so beautiful, like this big, beautiful plant. And you can take the leaves and put it in water and in hot water and make tea out of it. And it has almost like a little tiny bit of a spice, a little bitterness, but little spiciness to it. And it's also very soothing. So.
And is this product also good for women who are in menopause?
Yes. So there's only one herb in it, chasteberry, which is the mood balancing herb, which helps to balance progesterone in the body. But it doesn't, if you are menopausal or even if you're a man, it won't really have an effect on you. It's more for women whose estrogen and progesterone are fluctuating, and then that helps to balance that. Otherwise, the other herbs in it will take over. So the ashwagandha, the Tulsi, and then there's amla, which is the highest form of natural vitamin C you can receive. It's the amla fruit. And then Boswellia serrata, which is also known as Indian frankincense. And so Boswellia serrata is a tree in Africa and in the Middle East. And they tap the tree and they get that Indian frankincense, that golden sap. And it's an amazing anti-inflammatory. Actually, during COVID, a lot of people would take Boswellia serrata to help combat the COVID virus because it's such a powerful anti-inflammatory, and people use it for rheumatoid arthritis or inflammation in the body. So I use it in not just what's in Queen Tulsi, but then I add on to that when I feel like my joints are feeling sore.
So as far as, your company goes, it's been a process in terms of messiness, things that, of course, as we're expanding and growing, we don't grow from A to B. We grow back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, always going up, but sometimes it appears as though we're not. But as long as we keep going, and we're inspired to keep going. What kinds of ways have you been able to balance or get through the messy periods of your passion and your company?
So it's been a challenge for me, to be honest, because only about 7 months ago now did I decide to leave my corporate America job that I had been in for 27 years and focus on this full time. And I had this whole vision of what I would do and how it would happen. But when you are relying on that paycheck and on that structure, even though I worked from home with my company, I still had meetings and structure. When you rely on that for 27 years and then suddenly you leave that and you sort of build something from scratch, it's very, very different. Um, I would say doubt creeps in a lot. I get nervous. I don't want to sound too salesy. I don't want to sound too pushy. I'm not sure how to even navigate like little things like how do I create TikToks and I had to learn how to create TikTok videos, how to structure my day so that I'm not just focusing on, now that I don't have meetings, am I cleaning the house or am I working on building my business? Like different things like that. That was more, it was more challenging than I thought it would be. I thought that because I worked from home and because I was always very structured and organized as someone who worked from home, that I would be able to just shift right over. But it's very different when you're kind of building from the ground up. Um, I would say I think that the self-doubt kind of creeps in a lot where I'm like, do I know how to do this? Do I really know how to take this to the next level? And trying to find different systems to help me stay organized and to learn more. I realized that different parts of technology are not my strong front, like how to send mail merges. I tried to learn it and I was taking so much of my time. I said, I think I'm going to hire someone just to help me do that because I don't want to figure that part out.
Right.
So, just kind of learning along the way what you're good at, what you're not good at, and realizing that you're not going to be great at everything, and that's okay.
I that's such a great point. It is so true because we kind of waste our energy on things. Of course, you have to have a little bit of a budget to get that support, but you'd be surprised how resourceful sometimes, we can be, right? When we can maybe do, an exchange with a friend who might have a talent that, perhaps we're struggling with. And just kind of taking a step back and seeing, what is it that I really want to do? And then what is it that I like? Yes, sometimes we have to do things that, of course, we're not comfortable with. That's part of growth. But I love that you said that because it does take a while to come to that like acceptance
Right.
almost. And then the transition from structure to I am now responsible to make this thing go. And how do I manage that with balance? And I think, every person that starts their own company or that has an endeavor or even a passion project or is going through a transition is always learning those avenues. And it's like reflection, right? It's really teaching us more about what's important to us and how we can ask for support.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when we need it most, we fight it the most.
Why is that? It's so true. We feel like we can do everything, and if it's not in our control, then it's not going to happen. But I learned that I do need to let go of that.
Yes. And you know, we keep learning and growing and using like tools. Is there a specific tool that might be helpful to you that kind of gets you back into balance and helps you get a different perspective on things?
Um, I don't know if it's a tool, but it's a practice because
Mhm.
I was getting so down on myself. I felt like I wanted to accomplish so much and I wasn't accomplishing anything. And in my mind, I was just like constantly, people talk about like affirmations and manifestation, but everything negative that you're saying to yourself becomes an affirmation as well. Like affirmation is just something that you repeat to yourself. So
Mhm.
you're constantly down on yourself and that's your affirmation. And I needed to shift that. And so what I did was I created something called the evening abundance list, which was every evening I would sit down at my desk with a notebook and just write down all the things I accomplished that day, from drinking water to going for a walk to feeding my kids a nutritious dinner to, creating a newsletter, like the big things, the little things, to visiting my dad in the nursing home, whatever it is that I did that day that I felt like, okay, that was good that I did that. And then I would have this whole long list and I felt so much better. And I was like, I actually do a lot. And so I would do this every day. Or let's say there was a day that it was really hard and I only did like 3 things. I would say I had such a hard day, but I still look what I accomplished. I gave the kids a healthy dinner. I got them to school on time. They had a good lunch and I did the laundry, like, and so it just helped me. I know it sounds like it's not such a big deal to do something like this, but it really makes a difference. I think when you just every day, you're just kind of patting yourself on the back saying, you're doing a great job and keep going. And when you see that visually, it just lifts you up. And so, I try to get that done every night, and that's helped me. And then also what it does is it primes your brain for the next day, because if you like just, sitting on the sofa doing nothing, that at the end of the day, you're going to write down, I did nothing today. So you're like, you know what? I want to have like at least these 5 things on that list. And so it just kind of motivates you. So it's just like this nice cycle of like doing more, accomplishing more, and acknowledging yourself.
I love that. It's really honoring yourself, right? Honoring yourself for just anything that you do that is important to you. And again, like you said, it doesn't have to be the giant thing, but
Right.
the more it creates a different vibration within ourselves. And if we can hold that vibration longer, our brain, the RAS, the reticular activating system in our brain goes, oh yeah, I did that. I did that. I'm going to do that. I see that. Then
Yes.
see that. And, it's so helpful. And I think those little practices are super important. And it has to be something that isn't like, oh, I have to do this, but it's kind of like a fun thing. It has a fun energy to it, right? That, you know that there's a lightness to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm like sitting there and I can't think about it, I'll even just be like, I sat with the cats for 10 minutes and I'll laugh about that. But it's true. Like that was a good thing. I made them feel good. I felt good. So it is more of a fun, like practice and project. And I definitely enjoy doing it.
Yeah. So in terms of like the gift, it could be many gifts. It could be one gift. But what comes to you when you think about this whole creation that you've been in, this passion, which comes so much from your own experience and like your desire to help so many women. What has it contributed to your life? This journey that you've been on? What gift?
What gift to myself or to others?
Yes, to you.
I feel like this journey of life. We're here for a short and long time, right? Sometimes it feels really long, and sometimes we see how short it really is. And I really try to find the beauty in every day. I wake up and I say my first words that come out of my mouth are thank you. And it's like a Hebrew prayer that we say every day when we wake up. We say thank you. And the prayer is actually, thank you for believing in me, that you returned my soul to me. So there's this idea that your soul partially goes up to the heavens while you're sleeping, almost like it's like a millisecond or millimeter of death, almost so to speak. And then your soul's returned to you because God believes in you, that you're here for another day because you have a purpose. And so even when I'm not sure of what I'm doing and where am I going, I feel like I'm so grateful to be here for this. Every day is like this beautiful gift that I have. And that we all have, even with darkness around us and dark times or difficulties at home or whatever it is that you're going through, you're here. And I try to just spread that feeling that I have with the people I've connected with through my social media. And I've met so many beautiful women from all around the world. And I feel like we have just such genuine connections. and the women that I met here in Los Angeles. And I just feel honored and blessed to have that perspective on life, because it's really just helped kind of create that sense of calm for me in my life. And I try to just bring that essence out into others when I meet them or when I talk to them online or in person.
That's beautiful. And I'm sure you put that essence into your product as well.
Yeah. Like a handwritten note for me. So yes.
So what are you up to now? Is there anything that you want to share with the audience regarding your company that you might be promoting or focusing on right now in your business?
Sure. So I am working on I'm also launching a podcast, which was kind of on the back burner for a while, but now I'm going back to that. You are my inspiration also, that you're totally taken off. So that's great. But I will be having a podcast that's launching soon. And in about 2 months, we're not reformulating, but changing the Queen Tulsi formula a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit more potent. So people will just feel the effects a little bit more. So mainly the ashwagandha and the Tulsi will be a little bit stronger. I don't want to tweak it too much because people love it, and I don't want to mess with a good thing. But that's going to be coming out, I think, probably by March. We're October, November, December, January, maybe even sooner. We're trying to wait on the production and see what happens with that. But that'll be really nice, and I can't wait to see the feedback I get from that once I put it on the market. But yeah, otherwise, I'm just trying to get my Queen Tulsi out there. I'm trying to partner with people through TikTok and different Instagram collaborations that I'm doing, and then the podcast and meeting with people like you. And I've been on some other podcasts as well, just kind of letting it grow organically. I think that, I listen to a lot of female entrepreneurs, and there's a way to grow a business that's kind of like this very masculine, structured way. And then there's also like an organic, more feminine way. And that's more my approach. Even though my husband is sometimes like, listen, think faster.
But he's in the masculine.
Right. He's very, and move a little bit slower.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. So that's just my approach.
Yeah, that's great. And I look forward to your podcast, and wish you much success with your product next year. How can people get in touch with you? Let's say they're interested in maybe collaborating or
Yes.
just to buy your product. How can they reach you? And we'll have it in the show notes as well.
Okay. So the website is CarolineBassHealth.com, Bass, BASS, CarolineBassHealth.com, where you can order Queen Tulsi. And I would love to offer your listeners a discount for listening to your podcast. If they use Queen Fran, Fran, Queen Fran, then they will get 15% off anything on the website. And
Thank you.
yes, I would love to do that. And then my Instagram is also just Caroline Bass Health, and TikTok, which I'm starting, is also Caroline Bass Health. And you can send me a DM there, and I'll always respond right away.
And you're on Instagram, right? At Caroline Health.
Caroline Bass Health.
Bass Health. Yeah. Okay, great. That's great. Everybody connect with Caroline, especially if you are in a situation where you just feel out of balance with your hormones and stress in your life, and especially being a mom, which can be certainly a stressful time of your life when they're younger, especially. But thank you so much for being on. It's messy, but it's so good. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I'm so thrilled to be here, and can't wait to connect with you in the future.
Yep, we'll be in touch.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, Caroline, for coming on. It's messy, but it's so good. And thank you for sharing your story about the challenges in transitioning to entrepreneurship and some of the practices that you've developed that help you with your stress level, and of course, the product that you've created. If you'd like to get in touch with Caroline, you can reach her at her website at carolinebasshealth.com. And there, she has graciously offered 20% off discount on her website products. You would put in the code QueenFran. And you can also reach Caroline at Instagram at Caroline Bass Health and at TikTok at Caroline Bass Health. So thanks again, Caroline, for your story, your inspiration, and for the lovely discounted gift. We really appreciate it. Reach out to Caroline, and she'll also tell you a little bit about a new course that's coming, Ignite Your Soul, about finding courage to transform your life. And that's something that's coming down the pike. So again, thanks, Caroline, and thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next time.